Hey everyone, welcome back to Talk Lucy channel, your daily English practice. I'm Lucy.
And I'm Tom. We're so happy you're here with us today. If you're new, subscribe so you don't miss our daily episodes.
So, Tom, you went out for dinner last night, right? How was it?
Oh yeah, Lily and I tried that new Italian place on Hawthorne Street, and it was pretty good. The pasta was quite nice, actually, but the prices were rather high for what you get.
Wait, stop right there.
What? What did I say?
You just used 3 different words to describe your dinner. Pretty good, quite nice, rather high. These are 3 words that all sort of mean the same thing, but they don't. Not really.
I didn't even notice I was doing that. They just came out. Are they really different?
Very different. And this is one of those things that makes English so tricky. You have 3 words, quite, pretty, and rather, and they all seem to mean kind of or somewhat, but each one carries a different feeling, a different weight, and that's what we're talking about today.
Because honestly, I use them randomly. I just pick whichever one sounds good in the moment. And right now, there's this tightness in my forehead, like my brain is trying to sort through a drawer it's never opened before.
And if you're listening right now and thinking, wait, aren't they the same? You are not alone. Even advanced English speakers mix these up. But once you feel the difference, your English will sound so much more precise and natural.
All right, let's untangle this. Which one do we start with?
Let's start with pretty, because this is the one people find the most confusing, since pretty is also an adjective that means attractive.
Right. She's pretty versus she's pretty tired. Totally different meanings.
Exactly. When pretty comes before an adjective or adverb, it stops meaning attractive. It becomes an intensifier, a word that adds degree. Pretty good means good but not great. Pretty tired means quite tired. It's somewhere in the middle of the scale.
So it's like a 7 out of 10?
That's a great way to think about it. If very good is a 10 and good is a 6, then pretty good is about a 7 or 8, above average but not at the top.
The movie was pretty interesting. So it was interesting, but it didn't blow my mind, right? And here's the important thing about pretty as an intensifier. It's casual, very casual.
You'd say pretty good to a friend in a text message or a relaxed conversation, but you probably wouldn't write it in a formal essay or say it in a job interview.
So if my boss asks, "How's the project going?" I shouldn't say, "It's pretty good."
You could, but it sounds very relaxed. In a more formal setting, you'd say quite good or going well. Pretty is your coffee shop word, your hanging out with friends word.
Pretty is the word in sweatpants. Comfortable, casual, no pressure.
I love that. The word in sweatpants. That's exactly right.
Okay, so what about quite?
Quite is the middle child of these 3 words. It's more neutral than pretty. You can use it in both casual and formal situations. It means to a noticeable or moderate degree.
The restaurant was quite busy, so it was noticeably busy but not packed to the walls.
Yes, and here's something interesting. In American English, quite usually means fairly or somewhat, a moderate amount. But in British English, quite can sometimes mean completely.
Wait, what? The same word means different things?
With certain words, yes. If a British person says, "That's quite right," they mean completely right, 100%. But if they say, "It's quite cold," they mean fairly cold. It depends on the type of adjective.
That sounds confusing. How do I know the meaning?
Don't overthink it. For everyday American English, just remember quite means noticeably or to a good degree. It's stronger than a little, but weaker than very. If you hear it in British English and you're not sure, the context will usually make it clear.
So quite is like a solid 7. Noticeable, decent, not too casual, not too formal, just balanced. The business casual word, not sweatpants, not a suit, right in the middle.
Business casual. I love these clothing metaphors. So what's rather then? The suit?
The suit.
Rather is more formal than both pretty and quite, and it often carries a feeling of surprise or unexpectedness, sometimes even a hint of something negative.
What do you mean negative?
When you said the restaurant prices were rather high, you weren't just stating a fact, you were surprised. You expected lower prices. There's a judgment built into that word, like a raised eyebrow.
So rather has an opinion?
Exactly. The movie was rather long doesn't just mean it was long, it means you felt it was longer than it should have been. You're expressing a mild reaction, a tiny complaint wrapped in a polite word.
Elegant complaining. My new favorite skill.
And British people are masters of this. The weather is rather dreadful today. The train was rather late. It's very polite, very understated.
So is rather always negative?
No, that's a common mistake. Rather can also express pleasant surprise. The meal was rather delicious, actually. She is rather talented. In these cases, you're saying more than I expected in a good way.
So rather always has that more than expected feeling, whether it's good or bad.
Most of the time, yes. And that's what separates it from quite and pretty. They're neutral. Rather has an emotion tucked inside it.
Okay, let me make sure I've got this. If Lily cooks dinner and I say it's pretty good, that's casual, normal, just chatting, right?
Right.
If Lily cooks dinner and it's quite good, that's a little more polished, more respectful, still moderate, but I'm being a bit more precise.
Yes.
And if Lily cooks dinner and it's rather good, that means I'm surprised. I didn't expect it to be this good. There's a little wow hidden in there.
Perfect. You just nailed it. Same basic meaning, good to a moderate degree, but three completely different feelings.
My shoulders just dropped like 2 inches. I swear I was holding tension I didn't even know about. Everything has its own drawer now.
Now, let me give you another way to think about it. Imagine a thermometer, a scale of intensity. At the bottom, you have fairly. That's the mildest one. It's fairly warm means it's a bit warm, nothing special.
Like a 5 out of 10.
Then quite a step up. It's quite warm means you notice it. It's warmer than average, 6 or 7. Then pretty and rather sit at about the same level on the thermometer, maybe a 7 or 8, but they're different in style and feeling. It's pretty warm is casual and neutral. It's rather warm is more formal and implies warmer than I expected.
Same temperature, different personality. Pretty is telling a friend, rather is writing in a journal, quite is telling your doctor.
Let's dive deeper. Imagine you're telling a friend about a job interview you just had. You say, the interviewer was pretty friendly. What does that tell you?
To me, that sounds like a casual observation. The interviewer was nice enough, but nothing remarkable. Just a normal experience.
Exactly. Now, change it slightly. The interviewer was quite friendly. How does that feel different?
That feels more intentional. It's like I'm saying, yeah, they were noticeably warm. I was genuinely pleased with the interaction.
And what if you say, the interviewer was rather friendly?
Ah, there's the surprise. It sounds like I expected them to be very serious and professional, but they were actually warm and approachable. I wasn't expecting that level of friendliness.
See, the same basic sentence tells 3 completely different stories just by changing that one small word.
That's kind of amazing. Inside I'm thinking, how did I use these correctly for years without knowing why? I bet native speakers do this without thinking about it at all. It's exactly how I described my dinner last night. I said, pretty good for the food because it was just a casual passing thought. I said, quite nice for the pasta because I genuinely noticed the quality, and I said rather high for the prices because I was surprised by the bill.
You used them perfectly, Tom. Your brain already knew the rules. It just hadn't explained them to you in words yet.
My brain is definitely smarter than I think it is.
Let me tell you a quick story. Last week, one of my students from Seoul wrote an email to her professor. She wrote, "The lecture was pretty informative." Now, that's not grammatically wrong, but for an email to a professor, what would be better?
Definitely quite informative. It's more respectful. It's that business casual tone we talked about, which is perfect for a professor.
Exactly. Later, she told me about a museum she visited and said it was quite amazing. But amazing is already a very strong word. In American English, quite amazing sounds a little flat, almost like you're holding back. What would add more feeling there?
Rather amazing. Because it adds that element of surprise, like the museum was way better than she expected.
Yes, or honestly, you could just say amazing on its own. Strong adjectives often don't need a modifier at all, but if you want to add one, rather gives it that extra emotional punch.
Got it. Strong words can stand alone. Don't water them down.
Now, let me tell you about some common mistakes I see.
I'm ready. I'd rather learn from other people's pain than my own.
Mistake number 1, using pretty in formal writing. My students often write things like, "The results were pretty significant." No, in academic or professional writing, use quite or rather instead. Save pretty for your casual conversations.
Right. The coffee shop word doesn't belong in the boardroom.
Mistake number 2, overusing rather in casual American conversation. If you're just chatting with friends and you say, "I'm rather hungry," or "It's rather late," you might sound a bit theatrical.
Like I'm in a British period drama. I'm rather famished, darling.
A little bit. Rather works beautifully in British English or very formal American English, but in everyday American talk, pretty or quite are much more natural choices.
So the situation really matters. Who am I talking to? How formal should I be?
Exactly. And mistake number 3, confusing rather with would rather. These are completely different tools. I rather like it means I somewhat like it. I would rather have coffee means I prefer coffee. The word would changes the entire meaning.
I see. I rather think we should go is an opinion. I'd rather go is a preference.
Perfect distinction. And one more small mistake. I sometimes hear students say, "I rather prefer coffee." That's redundant. Rather and prefer are doing the same job here. Just say, "I prefer coffee" or "I rather like coffee." Don't stack them.
Oh, I think I've done that before. Good to know. Now, here's a question. All 3 of these words go before adjectives and adverbs. She speaks pretty quickly, he works quite efficiently, but can I use them with verbs directly, like, "I pretty like it"?
No, that's a grammar trap. You cannot put pretty or quite directly before a regular verb in standard English. You'd say, "I quite like it," which works in British English, but "I pretty like it" sounds wrong. Instead, say, "I like it quite a lot," or "I pretty much like it."
Pretty much. That's a phrase on its own, right?
Yes, pretty much means almost or basically. I pretty much finished the project means I almost finished it. It's very common in casual speech.
I use that one all the time, pretty much every day.
See? You're a natural. And there are a few more common phrases to remember. Quite a. This is very useful. That was quite a surprise, or she's quite a singer. It means something is remarkable or impressive, and it's always positive.
Rather than. This is completely different from our degree modifier. I'll take the bus rather than drive. It means instead of.
So keep them separate in your head. The movie was rather good means degree or modifier. I'll watch a movie rather than study means choice between 2 options.
Exactly. 2 different tools that happen to share the same name. And one last one. You'll hear British people say quite right or quite so to agree with someone. It means absolutely or exactly.
You know what's funny? I've been using these words my whole life without thinking. Now I find out they each have their own personality. It's like discovering that the 3 pens on my desk all write in different colors, even though I thought the ink was the same. That is the beauty of English. Small words carry big differences. If you're listening and thinking, I never knew these were different, that is totally okay. Most textbooks don't teach this. They just translate all 3 as the same word.
But now you know the feeling behind each one. Once you start noticing it in movies and podcasts, you won't be able to unhear it. It's feeling like someone cleaned my glasses. Everything looks clearer.
Let's do some quick practice. I'll give you a situation and you pick the best word. Ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
1. You're texting a friend about a movie you saw last night. It was good. What do you say?
It was pretty good. It's a casual text to a friend, so there's no need to be fancy or formal.
2. Your professor asks how the reading assignment went. It was challenging. How do you respond?
I'd say it was quite challenging. That sounds respectful and perfectly appropriate for talking to a professor.
3. You try a new coffee shop, and the latte is way better than you expected. What's your reaction?
I'd say, this latte is rather good. I'm pleasantly surprised because I didn't expect this quality from a little neighborhood shop.
4. A colleague asks about the new software at work. It's easy to use. What's the professional answer?
It's quite easy to use. It's professional, neutral, and fits the office environment well.
5. You're complaining to Lily about a boring TV show. How do you describe that episode?
That episode was pretty boring. I'm just being honest with Lily. Total sweatpants mode.
Last one. You meet Jake's new girlfriend, and she turns out to be incredibly smart and funny. What do you tell him?
I'd say, actually, she's rather impressive. I'm genuinely surprised in a very good way.
Every single one was correct. And notice, you didn't even hesitate. Your brain already knows which word fits where. If you, the listener, got those right in your head before Tom answered, congratulations. You already feel the difference. Trust your instincts.
Vocabulary lock-in, defining the key terms. All right, vocabulary time. Let's lock these in so they stick.
1. Quite. A neutral degree modifier, meaning to a noticeable or moderate extent. For example, the concert was quite enjoyable, meaning it was better than I expected.
It's the balanced middle ground. Not too much, not too little. It works everywhere.
2. Pretty, as an adverb, an informal intensifier, meaning fairly or to a good degree. For example, I'm pretty sure we've met before. It's the casual, everyday word you reach for without thinking twice.
3. Rather. A slightly formal modifier that often implies surprise or unexpectedness. For example, the new restaurant was rather impressive for such a small town. It's the word with a raised eyebrow built right into it.
4. Fairly, the mildest degree modifier, meaning to a moderate but unremarkable extent. For example, the hotel room was fairly clean, but nothing special.
The baseline, just enough to mention but not enough to remember.
5. Intensifier, a word that strengthens or adjusts the meaning of another word. In very cold, the word very is the intensifier that makes the cold stronger.
It's like the volume knob on your adjectives. It turns the meaning up or down.
6. Tone, the feeling, attitude, or mood expressed through word choice. Using rather instead of pretty completely changes the tone of a sentence.
It's the invisible flavor behind the words you choose.
7. Nuance, a subtle or slight difference in meaning, expression, or feeling. There is a nuance between quite good and rather good that native speakers feel instantly.
These are the tiny details that separate good English from great English.
8. Understatement, describing something as less important or serious than it really is, often for humor or politeness. Saying a hurricane was rather windy is a classic British understatement.
Like saying the Titanic had a bit of a water problem.
All right, That was a great talk about quite, pretty, and rather.
I feel like I just got prescription glasses for my vocabulary. Everything is sharper now. The blurry parts are finally in focus.
Remember, you don't need to be perfect. Start by just noticing these 3 words when you hear them. Pay attention to the context. Is the person being casual, formal, or surprised? The more you notice, the more naturally you'll choose the right one.
Now, a question for you in the comments. Describe something you did recently using 3 different ways. It was pretty, blank. It was quite, blank. It was rather, blank. Feel how each one changes the mood.
We love reading your answers. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend who is learning English.
We'll see you tomorrow with another easy conversation.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.